We're going to look now at the sculptures that were decorating the outside of the Parthenon. The reason we're looking at the outside is because the inside art and architecture was destroyed. This is one of my former students. This is Michael, and he was at the Parthenon. Go to the Parthenon, take a selfie. Okay, here we are. This is a floor plan showing you the Parthenon. We have our front doors, we have our pronaos, we have our epineos, opistodomos, and then in the naos stood the Athena Parthenos, the Virgin Athena. And the exterior was decorated with a series of sculptured friezes and metopes and pedimental sculptures. Now, we're not going to look into too much depth of these pieces, but let's just, let me just look here. This is what we believe the inside of the temple to have housed, the Athena Parthenos, based on how people described her in their travel journals. This is what she would have looked like. The Athena Parthenos was, goodness gracious, where are my notes? Built by Phidias. Phidias is the sculptor. She stood at 38 feet tall, and she was fully armed with her shield and spear and helmet. She had her arm outstretched and resting on a column because she was created out of a structure of wood, and then her skin was carved ivory, and then her clothing was bronze cast covered in gold. So she wore gilded bronze clothing and ivory carved skin. So extremely expensive statue and extremely large, and her outstretched hand was resting on a column for additional support, and in her outstretched hand was the goddess Nike, the goddess of victory. So you have the goddess Nike and Athena, as in Athena carries with her victory for the Athenians. There's so much more going on here. I can't get into the details of it, but she was destroyed. She was destroyed when the worship of the Greek gods and goddesses was made illegal. Most of the sacred cult statues were completely obliterated as a show of power, right? Take away somebody's power, taking away their face. And that's the case here with Phidias's Athena Parthenos. So let's move on. But wait. This is another artist reconstruction. I like this one here to show how she was looming at the back end of the naos, overlooking through the front doors at the altar. The altar would have been placed just outside the temple. Here, right there. That's the main altar. There's the front doors. She's facing east. She's facing the rising sun. She's facing the beginning of the day, the birth of the day. And right there is her altar. So she's looking out towards her main altar. Well, there isn't much to look at for the interior. There are still remaining sculptural metopes that would have lined the outside of the temple. Remember, triglyphs and metopes. This is an artist reconstruction to help remind you that they would have been brightly painted. Now, the metopes that surrounded the Parthenon, were specifically a battle called a centaurocemy. The centaurocemy is your next vocabulary terms. Okay, so the centaurocemy means a battle with centaurs. Centaur-ocemy is power. So power with centaurs, battle with centaurs, yes. What is this going on here? If you're unfamiliar, centaurs, here's another term. Centaurs are a race of creatures that have the body of a horse and the head and torso of a man. In Greek mythology, centaurs play a role in the legend of the Lapiths and the centaurs. What is this legend? The legend states that the king of the Lapiths were human men, invited the centaurs to his wedding. During the ceremony, one of the centaurs attempted to make off with the bride, and a great battle ensued. This battle of the Lapiths and centaurs is a common theme in Greek art. One of the reasons why it's a good theme, well, the Greeks saw themselves as the Lapiths, and anybody they fought were the centaurs, the bad guys. And so to have this display of the battle was a display of, and I've put it down here, Greek men versus non-Greek men. The battle then celebrates Greek culture. It celebrates the superiority of the Greeks. It celebrates their national pride, their Greek pride. So this is a common theme in art because it's seen as a symbol of their national superiority over others. The superiority over a centaur, but centaur's like half horse. Okay, think about our combination creatures or composite creatures. They have the body of a horse and the intellect of a man, which makes them extremely dangerous because they have the intellect and the forethought of a man, but the brute force and that beast primal sexual nature of a horse. And so going back to the battle, the legend, that centaur, he was overcome with lust for the bride, and so he kidnapped her and he tried to take her away, and that's when the battle happens. I paused because I thought my computer froze, but it didn't. So here, just to give you a sense that this is a common theme in Greek art. How is this related to Athens? Okay, well, I told you, the Greeks see themselves as the Lapiths, and every enemy is the centaur. So the centaurachemy, which goes across the outside of the Parthenon, is then supposed to be easily connected between the superiority of the Greeks, more specifically the Athenians, against their enemies, more specifically the Persians. That's why they won. That's why they're using the Delius League's funds to rebuild this, because they won, because they're superior, because they're Athenians. Okay. So let's look at some of these metopes. These are the metopes that survive from the Parthenon, and they are stunning. They're so beautiful. They're titled simply Lapith versus Centaur. Lapith, remember Lapith are the tribe of men, and the centaur here. Many of the elements are missing, like heads and arms and legs, and that's because, well, you take away somebody's power by taking away their face. Also, these are very delicate elements and so easily broken off and destroyed. Some of these pieces, like this guy's arm, were completely free of the marble base or backing, and so could easily snap off. They're huge. The majority of surviving metopes are now housed at the British Museum in London, and here is an image of people in the museum looking at one of the metopes. So they're massive, and then again, remember, they would have been brightly painted and way up high at the top of the perfect temple. We see throughout the metopes this conflict of man versus beast. Now let's think about this in terms of it being classical, in terms of it being a balance of opposites. I just don't see it, Miss Cortez. Contrapposto? Do you see any contrapposto? No, they're like all outstretched. They're all crazy. They're all weird. Where's the balance? Where's the harmony? Where's the perfection? Think about it as a balance of opposites. These compositions are beautifully restrained examples of balanced opposites. First, you have man versus beast, balance of opposites. And then looking at this one here, you see the Lapith man, and he is pulling the hair of the centaur. So he's tugging to the, what is it, your left, while the centaur is trying to get away, and he is pulling to the right. We have a balance of opposites, one pulling to the left, one pulling to the right. Look here at this one. Here we see a Lapith man pushing forward and up as a centaur tries to use his weight to push down and out. So we see a balance of opposites, up and down. Here in this one, you see a centaur who's about to bash in this guy's head. He's reined himself up. He's going to kick his hooves right into the soft flesh in his skull. Well, we have a balance of opposites. We have one rising and one falling, one alive and one almost dead. So even in the chaos of battle, in the high classical period, the composition still expresses this balance of opposites. So if you haven't already, please write that down. Classical is a balance and perfection and harmony. Contrapposto, counterbalance, balance of opposites, oppistodomos. Do you see how this is all coming in? So the classical is the height of this. It's the classicus of this pursuit of balance and perfection and harmony in architecture, in sculpture, in the presence of your body as a reflection of the balance of your mind. It's intimidating.